Hi everyone, good afternoon, good morning, good day in whatever time zone you are. I'll be your host for today on SIMA Impact Chronicles. My name is Bukola Agbi and I'm a stand vice president at SIMA. Today we'll be having an interesting guest. His name is Ted. So Ted Miller is currently the head of corporate finance at Bond Manufacturing, Nairobi, Kenya. Ted has a diverse work experience spanning various roles and different industry. He's currently the head of corporate finance at Bond. Ted led Bond fundraising efforts across various channels, including debt, equity, working capital, and receivable financing. Ted joined Bond in 2020 from New York, where he pursued a career in public accounting and finance. With me today, and welcome our guest for today, Ted Miller. Thank you, Ted, for joining us today on this segment. And I'll dive straight into the reason why we're here and just to ask some questions to understand bond manufacturing and your journey so far. So my first question would be to, if you could provide us an overview of bond manufacturing journey so far, highlighting your key milestones and achievements so far. Thank you.
Hi, sure. Thanks for having me. Again, my name is Ted Miller. I lead our corporate finance here at Byrne. Byrne Manufacturing is the world's largest designer, manufacturer, distributor of energy efficient, clean cook stoves. All of our products are geared towards saving lives in forests. We were founded in Nairobi in 2011. We're currently operating in about 10 countries across sub-Saharan Africa. Our products have been distributed to about 30 countries across the world. We've sold about 4.5 million of our products since we were founded. All of our stoves, like I said, are highly efficient, so they greatly reduce the amount of CO2 that's produced, of trees that are cut down for fuel, of harmful emissions to be breathed in, and they save households a lot of money for cooking fuels as well.
Thank you very much for that. So my next question will be more to is still about bond manufacturing. So how has bond manufacturing innovative cook stove technology contributed to addressing energy poverty and environmental sustainability in the regions where it operates?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, through sort of various ways in our business. For one, like I mentioned, all of our stoves consume way less fuel than the alternative or the baseline, it's sort of technically referred to. Through the 4.5 million that I referenced, we estimate to have saved about $800 million to our users. Another innovative way that we use what's called carbon pre-financing. So we can use funding for carbon credits to reduce the amount of cost to our consumers. So through that, we've delivered about 50 million of discounts to those end users. Another sort of innovative way is recently, just last year, we launched an electric cooking product. So we have an electric induction cooker with a stainless steel cookware set that's all manufactured locally here in Nairobi. Through that product, we're able to deliver great savings to our users. It's estimated that they'll save about $2,000 over the 7-year life of the product. It can reduce household emissions by about 100%, and it also reduces cooking time by about 75%. And where most of the users of our products in this community are women and girls, that 70% time reduction can then be used for more productive activities like education or other jobs.
Okay, great. Okay, so thank you for that. My next question would then be, so we'd just like to understand the impact that Bond has on its local communities, and particularly in terms of job creation, economic empowerment, and skill development.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, all of our products are produced locally here in Nairobi, Kenya. We have about 2,500 employees across sub-Saharan Africa, between manufacturing, distribution, customer service, operations. So a lot of job creation. Around 50% of those 2,500 jobs are women. So we're really supporting the local women community as well. And then, as I mentioned, our products deliver a lot of time and efficiency savings to our consumers.
So we can safely say that you have provided 2,500 jobs in Africa with your company, additional jobs. The people
Yep.
that probably don't have anything they are doing, if not for your organization. Okay.
Yeah, that's
So,
correct. And then another thing, sorry,
okay.
one thing to mention that's about Burn too is that we're really vertically integrated from the design to the manufacturing to the distribution to the financing to the carbon programs, all within our company, and all of those functions are based locally in Africa. So there's no, there's no people in the U.S. or Western countries or India, but rather it's all very, very locally focused.
Thank you. So my next question would then be, does Bond have like key performance indicators, I mean KPI or metrics, that you use to track and report your social and environmental impact? And are these
Mhm.
metrics, do these metrics align with the industry standard or external evaluation framework?
Yeah, so sort of most of our impacts are driven by the products that we're able to deliver. So through those about 4.5 million stoves that we've manufactured and distributed, we track things like carbon reduced. So we've reduced about 20 million tons of CO2. We've saved about 12 million trees from being burned. We've impacted about 25 million lives. And then, as I mentioned previously, but all of those products have contributed to about 800 million of savings for all of our users. And then sort of those metrics are also in line with the UN SDGs. So our products contribute to about 8 of the UN SDGs from, from sort of across the whole spectrum, really.
Oh, great, thank you. Okay, so my next question, could you share some specific examples or story that highlights the positive change and improved quality of life that your company products have brought to individuals and household? Like if you have like a specific example, that you just like to tell us about.
Yeah, sure. So all of our products are really geared towards climate vulnerable communities. Again, most of the primary usage is from women and girls and children who consume most of the cooking activities for the house. So all of our products really, help reduce indoor air pollution. So there's an estimated about 2 to 4 million people, well, about 5 million people globally and 2 million in Africa who die prematurely every year from consuming emissions through cooking. So all of our products are really going towards reducing those on an individual basis. Again, our products can save a lot of time. So up to 70% time reduction for all of those families and users really allows for them to explore other opportunities and more productive use activities. Yeah, there's also an interesting example of, we work with a lot of NGOs and partnerships and other sort of companies in our space. So one, sort of particularly interesting example is that we partnered with a company called Del Agua, who engaged with the Rwandan government through the Live Well campaign. And through that partnership, we were able to deliver 1 million of our cook stoves to rural users in Rwanda.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of, in terms of partnership with governments and NGOs or other stakeholders, that's where my next question is going into. So we'd just like to also understand how bond manufacturer have collaborated with these different partners, NGOs, governments, and other stakeholders, to scale up your impact and also to reach more underserved communities. I think you just gave us one example of where you reached over 1 million people. So I think you provided at least an answer to that. So I will just move to the next question, except if you want to give us another example. If not, I'll
Sure.
just move to the next question. Okay.
Yeah,
So, okay, please go ahead.
sure. Yeah, so we do a lot of engagement with NGOs and governments and DFIs, both from sort of a funding perspective to a policy perspective to an operations perspective. It's really been kind of catalytic to our success to get this far. Some of the NGOs, for instance, we announced a partnership with a grant organization called NEFCO last year. So they're providing around 12 million euro to help roll out electric induction cooking across target markets in sub-Saharan Africa. We work with other various sort of grant and DFI providers. USAID, for instance, we've had a long relationship with them to sort of seek funding and support.
Okay.
There's also a lot of policy work with governments, working across this many markets and this many products and this many sort of various elements of our business. It's really important to have good relationships with all the local governments that we're across in the country and the continent.
Great. So your collaboration consists of financing, operating, with different aspects, you're able to collaborate with different stakeholders. So my next question would then be still on bond manufacturing. So just to understand if you had undergone any third-party assessments or evaluation to measure the social and environmental impact of your operation. And if it has been done before, could you provide like the methodology used and what were the outcome of this assessment done by this third party?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so we do a lot of third-party assessments. So one of sort of the big overarching elements is that all of our stoves that produce carbon credits are certified under the gold standard. So gold standard is the leading carbon methodology in the world, and all of our products under those programs. In addition to that, our electric products were able to leverage a new methodology from the gold standard called the metered methodology. So through our electric products, which are outfitted with IoT-enabled GSM chips, we can track real-time usage from our customers, and that really helps with the integrity of the carbon credits. We've done other assessments as well. We've worked with the University of Pennsylvania, we've worked with the University of Chicago, Unis Social Business, and really all of the findings are pretty consistent across those reports that we're delivering high impact to our users.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. So my next question is, are there any external certification or validation that bond manufacturer has achieved as a result of third-party impact assessments, such as B Corp certification, iOS standard compliance, or other sustainability-related certifications?
For the last 2 years, we've actually 2 ISO certifications. So our organization is ISO 9001 and ISO 14001 certified. So those represent quality management systems and environmental health and safety policies. So those are pretty important for us to prove that we're following internationally recognized standards and up to those standards. Another kind of quite interesting certification that we obtained last year is that we issued the first ever green bond for clean cooking in sub-Saharan Africa. So through that exercise, we went through a second party opinion for our green certification for our business and products.
Yeah, okay, great. So my next question goes to the Energy Access Relief Fund. I would just like to understand how the fund has, helped bond manufacturing initiative and projects in terms of your project to improve energy access in underserved areas. So how has this fund actually helped you to achieve this goal?
Yeah, so through ERF, we were able to obtain some pretty critical funding at a critical time. So particularly during 2021, when we received our first investment during COVID, a lot of the investment landscape was quite hesitant due to sort of global macroeconomics. So through that investment, we were able to continue our operations and get our products to the communities in need, and those were sort of the critically affected communities from climate change we can serve.
Okay, thank you. Also, my next question will then be that how has Energy Access Fund enabled bond manufacturing to expand its operations and make a larger impact in terms of energy access and sustainability, in terms of the overall impact?
Sure. Yeah. So we've been fortunate to close 2 investments from ERF. So one I mentioned was for around 800,000 during COVID. So that investment was very important to sort of serve our working capital needs. Again, during COVID, the funding landscape was pretty harsh. So this allowed us to keep our business running, to keep paying our employees, and to really keep the machine going. The next investment, which was about $1.7 million, we were able to use that to invest pretty specifically into increased CapEx. So through that investment, we expanded our production capacity to 400,000 stoves a month, which nearly doubled our capacity prior to that, so we can reach that many more households and communities.
So we are glad that this fund is creating the impact that we intended, to create. So we're almost done. So I think I have just two more questions left for you. Can you provide example of how the Energy Access Relief Fund has helped, bond manufacturing overcome challenges or barrier to achieving its goals?
Yeah, so I think back to the important message here is that during COVID, funding was really hard. So the fact that ERF was able to help support us during that time, that enabled all of the goals that came later. So like I said, that increased capacity would have never happened. The induction cookers never would have happened. The millions of the stoves that we place in communities, quite frankly, never would have happened if we didn't have that funding during the critical time.
So it's really safe to say that the Energy Access Relief Fund, has helped bond manufacturing to be able to achieve some of its long-term sustainability, goals, and also to help the organization grow in terms of financially and operationally. It's safe to assume that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, specific to the actual investment itself, again, during a time when times are tough, ERF was still able to provide a very competitively priced investment, very fair security terms and repayment terms and usage of funds, which, if you're the only lender in the pool, it didn't necessarily have to be that generous. So that really enabled us again to keep going during the hard period, and then to really build upon that, fair investment to both expand our business and then to attract additional catalytic investment.
So I think that's all from my end. That's all the questions I have for today. Thank you so much, Ted, for taking the time to meet with us. And we are so glad that bond manufacturing is creating good impacts, in Africa, basically, because I'm an African. So it's something glad that we have company like yours, with passion, to help the African economy grow. It's a pleasure to meet you. I don't know if you have anything to say before we round up this interview.
Yeah, just again, thank you very much for the support from ERF. Like I said, it was really critical to get us through sort of a slower time. I think we've really leveraged it to really expand our business even more successfully than any of us probably would have thought during those times. But also that said, there's still a long way to go. There's still billions of people who rely on biomass and efficient cooking every day. So we welcome you to follow us along as we continue the journey to support that.
Yeah, we are always here to support you, to support your long-term goals and your vision, and to create the overall impact in Africa. And that's why SIMA is here, to create lasting impact in the continent. Once again, thank you very much, Ted. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
So that's from Ted Miller, the head of corporate finance from Bond Manufacturing Kenya. So thank you for joining us on today's episode of SIMA Impact Chronicles. Once again, I'm your host, Bukola Agbi, and ABP at SIMA Fund. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.